Control isn't about power. It's about not moving. You think control starts with conflict, that you have to push, to argue, to dominate, to win the room with words. But real control doesn't need contact. It holds and lets everything else adjust. You've seen it. The person who doesn't say much, but everyone looks at them before they speak. The one who doesn't react, but somehow recalibrates the entire room by just standing still. That's not magic. That's frame mastery. You don't lead by forcing. You lead by refusing to flinch while everyone else looks for emotional ground. That's how cold mind controls. Not through pressure, not through dominance, but through containment, through stillness so sharp, so unshakable, it becomes gravitational. And the most powerful part? You don't have to confront anyone. You don't even have to speak. You just stay centered long enough for their system to collapse into yours. That's not manipulation. That's architecture. Let's break it open. Control is not dominance. It's frame stability. You've been taught that control means domination. That to lead, you have to impose. That to win, you have to overpower. But real control has nothing to do with aggression. It has everything to do with structure. Control isn't force, it's gravity. It's not about moving people. It's about holding so steady that they have no choice but to adjust. Dominance needs attention. Control doesn't. Dominance argues. Control observes. Dominance pushes. Control doesn't flinch. When your frame is stable, you don't need to say much. Your energy communicates something stronger than words. I will not leave my structure just to match yours. And in that moment, you become the reference point. Not because you're louder, not because you're smarter, but because you're the most still, the least reactive, the hardest to move. That's control, held quietly, expressed structurally, felt systemically. You don't need to be alpha, you need to be unshakable. Because when chaos escalates and everyone starts scrambling for influence, the one who doesn't react becomes the anchor. And everyone, even the loudest, eventually adjusts to whoever refused to be pulled. You're not here to overrule. You're here to outlast. You're here to hold a frame so clean, so consistent, so cold, that the room recalibrates. Not because you took control, but because you never gave yours away. Let's make it visible in the field. Next. Signs you're already controlling people without realizing it. You think control requires action, effort, dominance, but sometimes you're already leading just by holding still. Here's how you know you're influencing the room without trying to. 1. People adjust their tone around you. They lower their voice. Pause before speaking. Watch your face for micro-reactions. Not because you ask them to, but because your energy commands calibration. 2. People justify themselves, even when you didn't challenge them. They clarify things you never questioned, preemptively defend what they say. Why? Because your silence feels structured, not judgmental, just steady. And in that steadiness, they feel seen, without being told. 3. People mirror your pace. You speak slowly. They slow down. You pause. They pause with you. Their nervous system starts syncing with yours, without conscious permission. 4. People check in with your face, even when someone else is speaking. They're reading your signal. They're seeking your read. They're orbiting your stillness, even while someone else is making noise. 5. You feel the room shift when you enter or exit. You don't announce. You don't demand. You just walk in. And suddenly, the dynamic changes. That's not charisma. That's contained energy. If any of this feels familiar, you've already started to influence. Quietly. Effortlessly. You're not taking control. You're holding a signal that others can't help but adjust to. Let's make it even more precise. Next. Why nervous system? Stability creates silent authority. You've been told to speak with confidence, stand tall, own the room. But real authority doesn't come from what you project. It comes from what you refuse to collapse under. Every room has pressure, tension, unspoken tests, and the one who holds their center the longest becomes the reference point. People don't follow words first. They follow signals. The body notices what the ears miss. Who flinched? Who filled the silence? Who needed to be heard? Now, who didn't? That's who the room orbits. Not because they performed, but because they didn't destabilize. Most people try to gain influence by pushing harder, speaking louder, dominating space. But their nervous system is leaking. They're reacting, gripping, trying, and everyone feels it. Cold mind operates differently. It regulates first, not to appear calm, but to become the anchor. When your system is still under pressure, you emit weight. Not emotional weight, but structural presence. You're not trying to win the room. You're holding your signal until the room sinks to you. That's authority without words. And it only happens when your system doesn't chase safety through noise. The most stable nervous system leads the others. Not through manipulation, but through resonance. Others adjust because stillness is rare. And in chaos, stillness becomes leadership. This is why you don't need to prove anything. You just need to hold. Breathe. Pause. Let silence work for you. Let them surge, while you stay grounded. Let them reach. You remain. Let them test. You remain unmoved. That's not force. That's engineered gravity. Let's turn it into protocol. Next. Invisible influence protocol. 3 tactical steps to control without confrontation. You don't need confrontation to control a room. You need containment. When your nervous system is still, your energy becomes directional, without expression. Here's how cold mind does it. Influence without noise. Control without conflict. 1. Neutralize your signal. Stop broadcasting. Every fidget, sigh, head tilt. You understand what I mean? Is a request for emotional feedback. Cut it. You're not here to be understood. You are the axis. That means no proving, no justifying, no checking their reaction. You let your system speak, and your system says, I'm not leaving this state, no matter what enters. 2nd, hold without adjustment. Once the pressure comes, and it always does, you hold. They get loud, you stay slow. They get passive, you stay direct. They react, you remain clean. You don't escalate. You don't shrink. You don't adjust to meet them. That lack of movement forces recalibration, because most people are used to pulling others emotionally. When you don't move, they feel exposed. And exposure equals shift. 3. Let their frame collapse itself. Don't push back. Don't correct. Don't defend. Just hold your internal frame until theirs runs out of fuel. This is the core of silent control. You become the gravitational center because you didn't try to be. The more they react, and you don't, the more they bend. Not to be controlled, but to stabilize themselves through you. This is invisible influence. No confrontation, no domination, just cold, consistent presence that reforms the field around it. Because the one who stays still longer than anyone else redefines the dynamic. Let's bring it full circle. Final message. You don't need to win the room. You just need to hold it. You don't lead by out-talking them. You don't control by correcting them. You don't win by reacting faster. You win by not needing to move at all. Because the one who holds their ground longer than anyone else becomes the ground. Everyone else starts adjusting, sinking, pulling back, not because you forced them, but because you refused to be pulled. This is control without confrontation, not from aggression, not from silence as strategy, but from stillness as structure. You don't need to dominate the room. You just need to stabilize your system until theirs recalibrates. And when you do, you don't just influence the room. You don't lead the room. You become its axis. Cold mind doesn't overpower. It doesn't persuade. It holds until the dynamic resets around it. Not emotionally, not intellectually, systemically. In the next video, we'll break down frame mastery, how to build internal structures that can't be hijacked by pressure, silence, or manipulation. Subscribe. No signal, no shift. Just hold. And everything else will bend.